Look at this image. On one side, there's you, the successful professional, respected, with a title that most people would kill for. On the other side, there's the reality that nobody sees. You opening your bank statement at 2 a.m., feeling that pit in your stomach because the money just vanishes. If your career is at the top, but your finances are on the floor, you don't have an income problem. You have a system problem. And today, I'm going to show you exactly where your money is leaking. You got the raise. Maybe two. You're making more than you ever have. And somehow, at the end of every month, it feels like nothing changed. Rent went up. Car insurance jumped again. Groceries. Don't even get me started on groceries. And the worst part? The people around you seem to be doing fine. New cars, vacations, decent apartments. Meanwhile, there you are, watching your checking account bleed out between the 15th and the 30th, wondering if you're just doing something fundamentally wrong. That's the financial trap most Americans are living inside of right now. And almost nobody is naming it correctly. My name is Ely, and I spend way too much time thinking about how people in the US experience money psychologically. If you're someone who earns a normal income, maybe even more than you used to, but still doesn't feel financially secure, hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Because what we're going to talk about today isn't budgeting tips or stock picks. It's something deeper. It's the reason the math in your head never matches the math in your bank account. Here's the thing. Financial stress in America isn't really about poverty anymore, at least not in the traditional sense. According to the American Psychological Association, money consistently ranks as the #1 source of stress for US adults, and that's across all income brackets. Not just low earners, not just people between jobs. People making $60,000, $80,000, $100,000 a year are reporting the same anxiety spiral that someone making 30 grand experiences. The numbers are different. The feeling is identical. That should stop you cold. Because if financial stress tracked with income the way most people assume it does, then everyone making six figures would feel secure. But they don't. The Federal Reserve's annual report on the economic well-being of U.S. households found that roughly 37% of Americans couldn't cover an unexpected $400 expense without borrowing money or selling something. And that number includes households that look, from the outside, completely stable. 2 incomes, benefits, a decent zip code, still one bad month away from a crisis. So let's be really honest about what's happening here, because it's not laziness and it's not stupidity. It's something far more systematic and far more psychological than people give it credit for. Imagine someone. Let's call her Danielle. Danielle is 31. She works in healthcare administration in a mid-sized city in the Midwest. She makes about $68,000 a year, which puts her comfortably above the U.S. median household income. By the numbers, she should be fine. And yet, every month, Danielle has this low-level hum of dread that she can't quite shake. Her rent is $1,450. Her car payment is $380. Insurance, health, car, renters takes another $350. Student loans, $280. Subscriptions she keeps meaning to cancel, somewhere around $90. Groceries for one, because she lives alone, about $400. Utilities and phone, another $200. That's roughly $3,150 a month in fixed and semi-fixed costs before she's eaten out once, bought anything for herself, or dealt with anything unexpected. After taxes, Danielle takes home around $4,200 a month. So she's left with about $1,050 for everything else: gas, doctor copays, birthday presents, clothes, the occasional dinner with a friend, and anything that breaks, because things always break. And if one month the car needs tires, or she gets a bill from a medical visit she forgot about, or her rent increases at renewal, that $1,050 evaporates. And Danielle ends the month feeling like she failed, even though she did nothing wrong. She just lives in America in 2024. Here's what most people don't realize. The problem isn't that Danielle spends too much on lattes. The problem is that the baseline cost of a dignified, stable life in this country has quietly eaten up most of what a solid middle-class income can provide, and nobody updated the cultural script to reflect that. The Bureau of Labor Statistics has been tracking consumer expenditures for decades, and what the data shows is that housing, transportation, and healthcare, the 3 non-negotiables, have grown significantly faster than wages for most American workers. Housing costs in particular have exploded. Between 2000 and 2023, median rent in the U.S. more than doubled in real terms. Meanwhile, wages for middle-income earners grew, but not at the same pace. Not even close. So the person making $68,000 today is navigating a cost structure that the person making $68,000 in 2005 never had to deal with. Same number, completely different world. But here's where it gets interesting. And this is the part that most financial channels completely skip. The problem isn't only structural. It's also deeply psychological. Because even when people understand the math, they still make choices that hurt them. And the reason they make those choices is that money isn't just money. Money is identity. Money is safety. Money is proof, to yourself and everyone watching, that you're okay. Think about this. When Danielle gets a raise, what happens? For about 2 weeks, she feels genuinely good. There's a real sense of relief, even optimism. And then, slowly, almost invisibly, something shifts. Maybe she signs a lease on a slightly nicer apartment. Maybe she starts ordering from the restaurant on the corner more often because she deserves it now. Maybe she buys better shoes for work because the new salary feels like a new version of herself. None of these choices are catastrophic on their own. Together, they quietly absorb the raise before she's even processed it. And in 6 months, she's making more money and feeling exactly the same amount of financial stress as before. Economists call this hedonic adaptation. Psychologists call it lifestyle creep. And it is, without exaggeration, one of the most powerful and least discussed forces in personal finance. The mechanism is simple. Human beings are wired to adapt to new conditions quickly. That's what kept our ancestors alive, the ability to normalize circumstances and keep moving. But in a consumer culture designed to constantly escalate what normal looks like, that same adaptation works against financial stability. Every time income rises, the baseline for what feels acceptable rises with it. The raise doesn't expand the gap between earning and spending. It just shifts the whole scale upward. Now you might be thinking, okay, but isn't that just a willpower problem? Can't people just not upgrade? And here's where I want to push back, because that framing is both unhelpful and a little unfair. Willpower is a finite resource. Behavioral economists have shown, study after study, that decision fatigue is real, and the more choices a person has to make in a day, the worse they get at making them, especially toward the end of the day when you're tired and your car payment is due and your boss just sent you a stressful email. The idea that financial discipline is purely a character trait is one of the most comfortable lies that the finance world tells, because it puts all the responsibility on the individual and none on the system that person is navigating. That said, and this is important, understanding the system doesn't mean accepting it passively. It means engaging with it smarter. Let's talk about thresholds. There's a concept in psychology called a reference point, and it's central to how people experience wealth and scarcity. Your reference point for money isn't an objective number. It's relative. It's built from what you used to earn, what your peers seem to earn, what your neighborhood signals as normal, and what the media, social and traditional, presents as the baseline for a successful life. Here's the real issue with those reference points in modern America. They are constantly being pulled upward by forces that have nothing to do with your actual financial situation. Instagram shows a curated version of everyone's best moments. The trip, the kitchen renovation, the dinner. LinkedIn is a parade of promotions and accomplishments. And the neighborhood you move into when you get a better job sends daily subconscious signals about what people at your income level are supposed to own and consume. None of it is real. All of it is influential. Social comparison is hardwired. Researchers studying relative income have found that people's reported happiness correlates more strongly with how their income compares to their peers than with the absolute amount they earn. In other words, making $80,000 in a city where most of your colleagues make $65,000 feels better than making $100,000 where everyone around you makes $130,000. The number is bigger in the second scenario. The feeling is worse. That's not irrational. That's just human. And it's exactly the kind of dynamic that quietly drives financial decisions that look irrational from the outside, but make complete psychological sense from the inside. You don't upgrade your apartment because you're irresponsible. You upgrade it because every signal in your environment is telling you that where you used to live is beneath you now. And those signals are louder than any spreadsheet. So what do you actually do about this? Let me give you a framework, not a list of hacks, not a meal prep schedule, a real way of thinking about your financial life that changes how you make decisions before you make them. The first thing is understanding the difference between a consumption upgrade and a stability upgrade. This is a distinction almost nobody makes explicitly, but it's the one that matters most. A consumption upgrade is spending more money to feel better in the moment, nicer apartment, newer car, more frequent dining out. A stability upgrade is spending money in a way that expands your margin, paying down the car note faster so the monthly obligation disappears, building a cash buffer that makes unexpected expenses survivable instead of catastrophic, consolidating a subscription you forgot about. One of these feels like progress. The other one is progress. The problem is that consumption upgrades are visible and socially legible. When you move to a nicer place, people notice. When you pay off your car early, nobody sees that. There's no social reward for the stability upgrade, even though it's the one that will genuinely change how you feel about money 6 months from now. The second thing, and this one takes some honesty, is identifying your financial floor. Not your financial goal. Not the number you'd love to hit someday. The floor. What is the minimum monthly stability that would make you feel genuinely okay? Not comfortable, not rich, just okay. For most people in mid-income ranges, that number has something to do with a cash cushion. The Federal Reserve data suggests that having even $1,000 in accessible savings dramatically changes how a person responds to financial stress. Not because $1,000 solves most emergencies, but because it interrupts the panic loop. It creates a moment of breathing room between a problem and a crisis. And that psychological breathing room is worth more than any rate of return. Now you might be thinking, that sounds great, but I'm already stretched. How do I build $1,000 in savings when I'm already spending everything I make? And that's a completely fair objection. Here's what the behavioral research suggests, and this is one of the most counterintuitive findings in the whole field. People are far better at saving money they never touch than money they have to actively choose not to spend. Automatic savings, even small ones, work not because the amount is large, but because they remove the decision entirely. $50 a paycheck, moved automatically to a separate account the day you get paid, is more effective than $50 you try to set aside manually at the end of the month. Because at the end of the month, that $50 is always already gone. The third thing, and maybe the most uncomfortable, is developing a clear picture of your actual fixed cost load. Not a vague sense of, I pay a lot for rent and a car. An actual number. Add up every recurring monthly obligation that isn't optional. Rent or mortgage, car payment, insurance, utilities, loan minimums, subscriptions you actively use, phone bill. That total number, divided by your monthly take-home, gives you your fixed cost ratio. If that ratio is above 75%, you're not living beyond your means because of bad habits. You're living in a cost structure that doesn't leave room for stability, and no amount of discipline is going to fix that without structural change. Either reducing a fixed cost, increasing income, or both. That might mean moving. It might mean refinancing. It might mean canceling the car payment eventually and buying something outright when the time comes. None of these are fun conversations, but they're real conversations, and they're the ones that actually change the trajectory. Here's the surprising realization I want you to sit with for a moment. The reason your career success and your financial stress coexist is not a contradiction. It's a symptom. A symptom of a system where the cost of living has quietly outpaced the logic of income, where social comparison has been industrialized at a scale that previous generations never experienced, and where the psychological rewards for stability are nearly invisible compared to the social rewards for consumption. The people who quietly escape this trap don't do it by earning dramatically more, although that helps when it's possible. They do it by changing what they're optimizing for. Instead of optimizing for the version of their life that looks right to the people around them, they start optimizing for the version that feels stable when nobody's watching. That's a much smaller target. And it turns out, it's also a more achievable one. Danielle, the one opening her bank account at 2 a.m., doesn't need to earn $120,000. She needs her fixed cost ratio to drop below 70%, a $1.500 cash buffer that she stops touching, and a clear distinction in her own mind between what she's spending to feel better today and what she's spending to feel safer tomorrow. Those are boring changes. They don't make a good Instagram post. But in 8 months, Danielle stops waking up with that pit in her stomach. Not because her life looks different, because it actually is different, underneath, where it counts. And that's really the point of everything said here today. Financial security in America right now isn't a story about income. It's a story about the gap between how we're told to measure progress and how stability actually gets built. You can close that gap. It doesn't require perfection. It requires honesty about the system you're operating in, clarity about what you're actually trying to build, and the willingness to make choices that don't look impressive from the outside. Start there. The math will follow. If this made you think differently about your financial life, even just a little, subscribe, leave a comment below about which part hit closest to home, and share this with someone who you know is dealing with this quietly. Because they probably are. They just haven't said it out loud yet. And sometimes, all it takes is someone naming the thing you've been feeling for a long time to make it feel like something you can actually work with. See you in the next one.